Hello, I'm so excited to be doing this live stream today. So, one of my biggest inspirations is our students and our graduates. When I see all the cool things that they're doing, understanding and knowing the subconscious mind, it just lights me up and brings me back to my purpose. Some of our students go on to be authors, podcasters, wellness influencers, and of course, coaches, mentors, and strategists. So Sandy is actually somebody that I coached with, I think it was back in 2017. She was one of my first clients after I got certified with the tools in NLP. And I know sometimes when we're new to tools or new to coaching, we worry, what if I'm looking at my book while I'm coaching my client or reading scripts or anything like that? She she was there with me when I was new to NLP and subconscious reprogramming tools, and one of the first clients that I practiced it on. And we'll ask her today how she felt, going through the tools, even if I was reading the scripts, and how she reacted to it. So if you have limiting beliefs around starting your coaching journey, around coaching not being perfect, and seeing your coaching as a practice, knowing that we can practice as we're working with more people, this is going to be the live stream for you. Hi, there you are.
I was laughing because I'm like, I don't understand why it didn't pop up, and now it did pop up. So, yes, tech is always challenging. How are
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, and we've been working in the online space for years. So we've seen all the ups and downs of the tech and
Everything.
everything changing. Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Well, I'm so glad it worked out, and I'm so glad you're here.
Me too.
And I think last time I saw your hair is brown and now it's beautiful blonde. Looks so
Oh,
good.
thanks. Yeah, that was some odd years ago when we met in 2000. I was looking back 2017.
Yeah, yeah, because you were one of my first clients after I got my certification. And I was thinking about it because, now working with some of our students, they say, oh, like, can I come to the coaching calls with my book open, with my manual open, reading through the script? And I'm like, I have done that. So I'd love to hear from your side of it. How was it being my client when I was, coaching you from experience and everything like that, but also when it came time to a technique, opening a book and reading it off to you?
Yeah, that was so interesting. So we were in a class for technology. That's how we originally had met, was and I kept saying, Reese, you got to help me, please, because I don't understand some of the mechanics of, you were like, oh, this is easy. And you were just entering into the space of getting certified. I don't even know if you were certified yet or you were going
Oh,
through it.
really?
Yeah, this is a long time ago because we were doing somebody named Zach's class. I remember
Oh,
from
is that how you found me?
yeah.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, it was some kind of funnels course.
Yes, and that was so long ago, and I was in the middle of some deep chaos in my life, and you were like, you know what, why don't I coach you? And I said, I'll be open to anything right now, so let's go. And we did. So that was about 2017, 2018, and I know it's one of your first clients because you had my testimonial for a while on one of your original webinars. And I remember writing the testimonial because, having worked for Tony Robbins myself, I said, Reese, that this has like opened my eyes to so many different variables of what was possible in the subconscious mind. And having learned NLP years ago, I think I couldn't hold the space for it at the time. And you were really working me through the original Dream Life worksheets, if you recall. I know you've come so far from there, but yeah, about 8 years ago. So we've kind of been in each other's lives for a long time. And this, out of all the podcasts I've been a guest on, this is my favorite one because this was like the starting kicking off point for the work that I do now and how it's evolved. So super excited that, to be here today.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So why
Yeah.
don't so for everyone watching to get to know you, why don't you share your story and that evolution too from, us meeting in 2017 to all the great things that you're doing in your business now?
Yeah, so 2017, 18, I was starting to, I had three girls already. I fortunately became pregnant at 40, and I was working in New York City on Wall Street, and I was not all there mentally. I think there was a lot going on, and getting pregnant at more an advanced age when I had already a 12, 10, and an 8-year old, and then having a later in life child. It was just everything was, and I really wanted to get divorced. I know they say that loosely, but um, it was just a transitional period for me. But I do believe that that was a catalyst for my transformation. And I mean, I don't know my life without my little, family, and having a son after three daughters was amazing. Um, but I think that having that a long term relationship with sales, because I've always been in some kind of sales aspect, that coaching in the industry on Wall Street on financial, consulting really was eye opening. That it wasn't about the money; it was the behavior of the investor.
Yeah.
And that started my mind spinning, saying, if I can understand them from a psychological point of view, I can help them plan and do succession planning better. So we were running our own family business. We had a lot of ups and downs. And in the transformational portion, it wasn't good. Now we're getting divorced. We're coming out of a transition in our business. I have four kids, and I'm looking like, what now? How do I take this pain that I'm experiencing and transform it into something that's going to be able to help others walk a journey with me?
Mhm.
And I think you and I had discussed in depth, the imposter syndrome. Like, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to move where I need to really go because I haven't done the internal work to the level that I thought I needed to do it. What I found was you don't need that. The evolution comes from as you're walking through. You don't need that, 4 year or a PhD in psychology to be able to do this kind of level of work, because it's much different than academia. And I lived it. Like, I walked in that path, and I think learning from someone who has done that work and now is on the other side is so much more critical, because they have an experience, right? We're not just reading out of a textbook. We're
Exactly.
teaching the structure of where were we, where do we want to go, and what gap do we need to fill. So that's really the transformation. Then I know a big part of what you teach, and a lot of your recent posts have been about being seen. And it's interesting, because that was something that, for someone as outgoing as I am, and putting myself out there in so many different ways, training on stage, speaking all over the country, showing up on social media takes a different set of skill and level. And I just watched how your evolution went, how you told your story and your transformation. And I think the problem that I had originally was, I I don't have ADHD. I won't say that I've ever been labeled. However, I have ADHD traits. So my
Mhm.
lack of focus was always about overperforming and the push pull. So the disorganization, building systems, building processes around it. And you just did that so fluidly. I was like, I have to learn from her, more. I wanted to get more involved. And finally, I took a risk with, not much money in my pocket. I had a goal that I wanted to be a millionaire by 31. And when we hit that goal, it was um, it was great. Sometimes it's not about the money, it's about the target, and then the achievables, and giving yourself that wow, you can do it. But then we lost it all. So the
Mhm.
resilience came in, and I had not a lot of money in my pocket. There was a lot going on, and I came to Canada, and I sat in your class, and I was like, there's so much possibility. And I never wanted
Mhm.
to say that, where you guys are right now is not where we're going to land. We just have to have a better definition of what that is, and really understanding how to regulate your central nervous system and your emotional quotient. And once you can do that, really, what would you do if we could say yes? And that's how I got into your class.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, what an amazing story. And there's so many things that stand out to me. One of the big things is like, when we're new to coaching or when we're new to a business, sometimes we're telling ourselves like, I can't coach somebody who's a few steps ahead of me or who has experience that I haven't experienced. And it's so interesting because when I was coaching with you, that was in 2017, I hadn't yet had babies. It
Yeah.
was 2017. I also wasn't even yet married, but we were able to meet because of, the subconscious reprogramming work. And I think it's such a big testament that if somebody wants to coach, it's okay if your client is going through something different than you, like maybe going through a divorce or pregnancy or certain, like at that point, you had made more money in your life than I had made more money in my life,
Mhm.
right? So it's okay to coach someone who maybe has made more money than you or has kids or is married or is in a different stage of life, because it's really about being present with the person and seeing what's holding them back and where it is that they want to go and helping them create a unique path. So that's so amazing. So was it in 2019 that you came to the live Yes Supply certification class?
Yes, it was January 2019. It was pre-COVID, so maybe it was 2020. It could have been one or the other. I
Yeah,
lost a little bit of time.
my last class, I'm pretty sure my last class ended like a week before all of the lockdowns. We were like a few weeks before all the lockdowns because they were talking about things happening
Then it was
in
then.
Europe and everything like that. Okay, so we're lucky because I was so happy to see you in person. Like it's one thing to coach and see each other on Zoom, and then to actually get to hug you and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're here."
Yeah,
That
it was
was so
beautiful.
nice. Yeah.
And I met friends there that I'm still talking to this day, and fellow coaches, and it was a wonderful experience to be live. I love the energy of the room. You were pregnant, so it must have been January of 2020. And the class just, you pushed people to get out of their comfort zones, which I never have a problem with. However, when you're at the worst point of your life where you feel like you're stuck or there's no answer for you, it takes a special someone to be able to bring you out of where you think you are and show you what is possible. And not only you but also the other members of that class. I mean, everyone was just amazing, and really taking us. You just hold space for people, and so did everybody else there. And again, like you said, it doesn't matter where you are on your journey. Someone else is mirroring you in some way. And I think a lot of it, if we look at it in a positive, of what is the potential of where you want to be, not where you are right now.
Exactly. Exactly. So tell me about that evolution, because I'm looking at you, you're doing amazing. You have great energy, you look so happy. Your
Yeah.
family has grown and now you have, three beautiful girls and a boy. So I would love to hear, what is that evolution now from 2019 to now? What have you done differently? What have you implemented into your life since not only being coached on the subconscious, but now having the tools for yourself?
Accountability, number one, taking responsibility for my own life and not playing from a victim role. Every choice that I made was mine, whether it was for the better or not. I was involved in the decision. So when we talk about NLP, we always talk about the map of our own territory. And I was looking at it everywhere but me. So taking that transformation and saying everything that is in my life is here because I put it here. And I'm not saying that there's not true victims in life. I'm saying my personal transformation story was about taking the accountability and saying I'm responsible for being the curator of my own life. And we all have the potential, we all have the capacity to do whatever we want. And I've always been a nonconformist. Following the rules was never really my thing. I couldn't stand school. I couldn't wait to get out. I went to school purely for social reasons. I loved it. However, again, it just was boring to me. So for me, it was always like, what's next? What's next? So when I started to regulate my central nervous system through the work that you were teaching us to do, whether it was EFT tapping, lots of timeline therapy worked, hypnosis, self-hypnosis, and really just getting in there and coaching others and seeing their patterns of behavior helped me to reflect on my own.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, I've coached over 1,000 people, and yeah, it's been crazy.
Oh, that's
It's been a wild
amazing.
journey. So I did work for a company that was coaching in the trades and realizing that there was a lot of trauma base in childhood trauma, mother father trauma. And not that I lead in with that. However, the ability to uncover where people are not understanding that what happened in our early stages is going to formulate who we are in our adulthood. So I have I guess, a gift to bring out the not so spotted, traumatic patterns of behavior. And that's really what happens when we do this kind of work. And it's not all woo woo. It really is speaking to your subconscious so that we can understand to bring up the dysregulation. And it's uncomfortable. It's terrible. Sometimes, I'm crying with my clients,
I've been
right?
there.
And it's fabulous because when you get to that level, it's never about the success of, from a monetary standpoint. It's really about the success that you're helping someone else achieve what was impossible for you at one point. And it's so gratifying, it's rewarding. And the one-to-one coaching for me on a VIP level is amazing. I love it. The 6-month coaching thing has been not so much in my style. I tend to do more VIP days, and because I work with entrepreneurs and sales managers, sales professionals that have ADHD traits, 6 months doesn't usually stick well with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And
Yeah.
I know for me that it wasn't really my backbone. But with what you train and teach and how you guide others, we're able to transform people much faster than traditional talk therapy.
Yeah.
Right? Because we get them to see those blocks much faster, and then we know where to work. In talk therapy, we're living in the past and we're not focusing on the identity of who you need to become in the future.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
So that was really the evolution. And it took some trial and error to get to where I am now, and it's not over. I'm just getting started in what I know that the impact that I have, burning the blueprint meant to me, and that's, my tagline is about living your mission, burning the blueprint. And it's really has a duality, and one of it is about burning that old generational patterns. We're not there anymore. We're not our parents, right? Whether it's in legacy, whether it's in the way that our family dynamics are. And the other one really is about creating that luxury brand, that appeal, right? How do we pull people into our worlds in a sense that we're unlike anyone else? So I remember one thing you had said to me early on was, I'm going to get that G-Wagon. It was one of yours. It was one of your, but I see the things I remember.
Yeah.
That's how much impact you had on me. I absolutely
Yeah.
adore you. And I remembered that. And it wasn't just about manifestation. It's who do we need to become? What habits do we need to indoctrinate into our 2.0 level of ourselves? And that was huge. So if anyone doesn't understand what that means, go check out all Reese's videos, because that is everything she speaks about is identity work, identity work. And mirroring, if you want to attract the right partner, who do you need to become? And I've
Yes.
made some mistakes along the way, even post divorce. However, it's all part of the journey, and I'm thankful and grateful for all the really negative experience as well, because they teach you how to open yourself up and create more awareness. And that only gives me a bridge to helping my clients further too. If I hadn't been through what I've been through, I would never be able to carry people the way that I do through our coaching.
Yes, absolutely. And that it's so brave of you that you showed up for yourself at one of the hardest parts in your life. Because it
Yeah.
would have been easy for you to say, you know what, I'm going to cancel my flight. I'm not going to come. This is too hard. I'm not going to get through this. And, continue to stay in that emotional place that you were. But instead, you focused on, I don't know how it's going to happen, but it is going to happen. So I'm going to show up so I learn the things and become the person that it happens to. And you
That
showed up through the dark, like one of the darkest times in your life.
really probably the darkest time. And
Yeah.
however, I remember I had an old sales mentor that said once that you have to dig down deep, but not from a survival. And I was always ready to put my superwoman cape on. I could handle anything. And I started to realize that I didn't want to survive anymore. I wanted to thrive, and I wanted to create impact for others. And I knew that was always my mission. However, again, I didn't feel safe in my own body from experiences, childhood, all the way through. And it wasn't a disorder, or it's just dysregulation.
Right.
So yeah, we really need to show up. That's the time I think that we show ourselves and trust ourselves to create that resilience. Everything else is overperforming, operating out of that survival mode, and then we burn out, right? We're not there for the others. I mean, my greatest gift in life is that I have these four amazing kids that have just, become entrepreneurs, have done things on their own. They've walked their own blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, when they look at me and say, Mom, I'm proud of where you are, that there's, you have two boys now. There's nothing better than that in life. Even client testimonials that are, I wouldn't be where I am today without you. And that's the sales acumen that I have is fantastic. I'm glad I have it. That's a skill set that I've learned. However, what I've had to do for myself, what I've had the opportunity to do for myself is really the greatest gift. And it's possible for everyone. But when we look at it, what, 361 million people in the United States and 788 of them are billionaires. Like, where's that gap? Why are we not showing up? What is conformity telling us that we
Right.
need to do, that we're not going out on our own? And I refuse to follow those rules. So that's why I keep moving forward, regardless of what circumstances have, arisen.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And you have such a unique background. I would love to hear about like your programs and your offerings and the impact that you're making. It sounds like, are you combining the subconscious work with some of the sales experience that you had? Yeah, tell me about it.
So when I, again, do it, try it, fix it, I was fortunate enough to work for a company for 4 years, again, training operations, leadership, and sales from the stage, which was beautiful. And then we coached behind the scenes. And what I was noticing is the failure rate was very high. And the reason being, again, was we weren't pulling this kind of work in.
Right.
So we're asking people who can't hold space. So asking me to sit down and focus on creating standard operating procedures and systems and processes and sales audits and managing metrics in the sales capacity was not going to happen from an organizational standpoint. it the old me wouldn't have been able to do that. And I've had many leaders say, you were amazing, but you couldn't hold space because you were so disorganized. And I used to say, hire around it. Like, I'm not fixing it. And I still till this day say, play on your strengths and not your weaknesses. So I do I do one-to-one VIP coaching. I do offer a 90 and 30-day for sales auditing, and also the identity purpose driven work, but it's all correlated. So the leaders, we all have to embody, the confidence, the clarity, and who we are first in order to grow a brand and a business and be able to pull out the best in others. So everything I teach, any leader or entrepreneur can now indoctrinate into their own company,
I love
right?
that.
So there's a great duality in that as well. And then I do go to companies and work with them one to one. And as long as we can get the ego aside from a lot of the sales professionals who want to pound their chest. I don't like the whole bro mentality. I don't like motivating people. I want to inspire and also help them to understand that if we can change your survival patterns in sales, it's going to help you focus from a confident standpoint, and that's going to come very authentic and not forced. And I see so many salespeople that are forcing, and coaches as well. I mean, I deal with a lot of coaches, consultants. It's a very interesting line of work that I do. So I put together a lot of different programs. The one that I love the most is really about the regulation for someone who has the ADHD traits, and understanding that you're living in chaos, constant procrastination, burnout, self-sabotage, and ease and flow is right around the corner.
Yeah. 100%. I
Mhm.
love that. And you're so right about selling because someone can force themselves to sell, but if they have limiting beliefs around money or who they are, or I'm greedy if I get this, they're going to burn out. They're going to feel so bad about every single sales conversation they have. But when they start to feel like I'm bringing value to the world, people want to hear what I have to say, or this product or service is valuable, now they're excited about whatever it is that they're talking about. It doesn't feel like selling, it feels more like sharing.
And really putting together a good consultative process. And I love the money blocks. And I know, a lot of this, language some people are unfamiliar with. I'm trying to keep the jargon out of it and really understand that how we grew up and the language we heard, or what we were taught is not always the way that your life has to be. So, money doesn't grow on trees, all the old adages. But if you live in a space where I was dealing with the technical trades, so plumbers, HVAC, and I was dealing with anyone who used their hands, their identity was often tied to the truck. So now we're asking them to create a leadership quality, an owner mentality. And they often held themselves back. So, of course, they can't articulate their value to the people who are out in the home. And I would have gentlemen in the audience whom they never wrote a check for $500 before. Now we're asking them to place, $30,000 systems in people's home, and they didn't know how to be able to say, well, this is what you're asking for, because their consultative process was off. And they never spent that kind of money. They wouldn't buy it, so they sold from their own pocket. So there was a lot that went on. And I can look at anyone's P&L and understand their sales process right off the bat. Thankfully, I learned operations early on. I think what makes me a little different in the world of business is I combine the psychotherapeutic coaching with business strategy. And having that kind of sets me apart from other business consultants. I mean, I'm really getting in there and working on people's mental mindset. And then we go to the operational aspect of their business.
I love
So
that. I love that so much. So for anyone who's watching who they're inspired by you and they're thinking to themselves, I would love to get into coaching corporations and bringing this work in. I'd love to hear what is your like process for attracting those types of clients. So are you using social media? Is it word of mouth?
so I've been fortunate. I'm this is my energy right here. Where I've been on a lot of podcasts, and then my name was out there with articles. I was fortunate to have a lot of referrals during that time. And I'm on LinkedIn. So I post and then I respond. There's something that doesn't sit well with me in the DM space, or, my energy is out there. Like, so next week will be the kickoff of a new radio show that we're going to be doing in YouTube. I really, yeah, I'm excited about it. It's going to be called Burn the Blueprint, but it's all about the branding aspect of it. So it's not just a podcast. It's really going to be an experience of taking people in the world, and it's not just corporate. I think my magic is anyone from startups to $5 million. Once it gets corporate, it's too many rules and regulations. Not that I wouldn't, and I have been brought in to do some corporate speak. I just think my mannerisms and the way that I am able to create the most impact is in that space where they're just emerging, right? And there's just it's something it's exciting for me, and I like to keep things where we're working with people who have capacity and high performance. So that's how I've really been, pushing, and I'm always asking for referrals, testimonials. I've shown up all over pretty much the country in the last year, and now I'm taking it to the next level. You'll see me a lot more, and I am showing up. Like, doing my first TikTok was so awkward. Like, I just thought it was so strange. I was laughing, and like, this is my space. I love it, but for some reason, we put the blinders on and we make it bigger than it is. And I
Oh
think
my,
and you've had, I mean, Reese, how many students have had you go through the certification now?
probably at least 2,000.
So 2,000 people that, showed up for themselves. And we both have coached so many people in a space where they really have failed. And I say that loosely because there's always a reinvention, right? So it doesn't mean it's because I was failing in the beginning of working with you. And I say failure loosely. I was learning, right? I was learning how to adapt and how to grow. And I wasn't ready yet. I wasn't ready. So the reinvention came from saying, stop caring about anything other than what your mission is. Because if you can set everything else aside and you can truly focus on the impact that you're going to have for those who align with you, and you repel everyone else, that's where success comes in, right? You're not for everyone. And that's good. So the likability quotient, the people pleasing, it all has to go away. We need to focus and show up. If they judge you, who are they to judge, right? Are they taking the risk? What have they done, right? Some people
Exactly.
project that onto them. So there's been a lot of learnings in the last years, and I think that it's just been an amazing ride, and I'm so grateful when I wake up with that vibration every day. And I, like, I don't want to get teary eyed, but you literally, and I know after 2,000 people, you never said, well, you were just a number. I know it was in the beginning,
Totally.
but so I think that was something that I aligned with you because I don't believe in just a number. We're the reason that you were able to keep impacting people, right? So you never forget about where you started, and the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. It's just really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like on the tough days or the ups and downs when you think about the human that you're impacting. It's so cool to hear that like you came to the class and now you've coached 1,000 people, right? Like a
Yeah.
thousand people that might not have known about their subconscious mind or known the thing that was blocking them or holding them back. So it's so cool because every single one person you touch can be 1,000, 10,000, a million. So it's so important to show up for each individual person that you meet and that you work with. I'd love to hear, do you have any big wins that you want to share after, doing this for so many years and helping so many people?
I mean, I think every win's a big win. When I'm on a call or I have that, see the aha moments in others, and that energetically, when that happens, right? When you look out when you're training and you see the light bulb moment or the breakdown happen. And I deal with a lot of men. I will say that 90% of my clients are men, and I'm not sure if it's just because I bring more masculine energy to the table that allows them to be vulnerable. And I love it. I couldn't care less which one. It didn't happen that way. I didn't go out there as a men's coach. I just learned that holding ground for that and was something that was important to me. And I think it's a savior complex that I used to have, saving my father and any other man that came into my life, and really wanting more from men. I'm going to say something that's probably going to upset people. However, I feel like, it wouldn't be me if I didn't say it. I feel as if we're in a little bit of a topsy turvy right now with the feminine and the masculine, where women are given this opportunity and they keep talking about weak men, and then men are talking about like all these masculine women. But if we can just kind of meet in the direction where there was nothing more gratifying in my life than being a wife and a mother, and this was just the icing on the cake. Like, that was my first love. And I think we have that innate quality as women, and we can still stay soft and be powerful on the outside,
Yeah,
right?
I
The
totally agree.
internal, I just think that comes from people trying to prove themselves,
Yeah,
right? So now men are like, I can't stand those kind of women. Why? You're creating, it's like we're doing it to each other. And I'm not
yeah,
just using men and women, it's a partnership, and it doesn't matter what that's comprised of. I'm just saying we're doing it to one another because we really don't know how to regulate ourselves, and then we keep projecting our insecurities on our partner, pulling the wrong people in. And I've done it. People have sat at my table that should never have been entered in, and now I use a discernment. So what I've realized over this time was play to my strengths. Don't really try to change what I'm comprised of as far as who I am inherently. So we do have this 2.0 of identity, but I think when you and I speak identity, we talk about the habits and the rituals. If you want to get to a level of your life, whatever that looks like, monetary, spiritually, physically, health, whatever, it's all about the daily rituals.
hmm
It's not about changing who you are at the core.
yeah,
That core essence is what draws that's what it draws and attracts people to you.
yeah.
So I had to realize that, and I had posted recently about being on Wall Street and selling like a man. And it was it wasn't who I was. I didn't want to be that way. It was kind of forced into a little bit of fight or flight. And it didn't need to be. Like, I can be in my feminine energy. Yeah, I mean, I have like a pretty good confidence level, so it comes across sometimes to the male with a lower ego point as, oh, look at her, and we just have to get that balance in. And I've had an ability to, make some pretty powerful men tear up, and that breakthrough is what helps them to evolve into this magnetic leader, that magnetic entrepreneur, super successful salesperson. And that to me is just everything.
I
It's
love that.
everything, getting that clarity and confidence back up.
I love that. What teachings or tools or techniques would you say you bring into your practice most?
Timeline therapy was a really big one for me. And when I was trained on it, and don't, we did a lot of training. That was a long training. And now I see these life coaching and mindset coaching certifications you can get in 5 days, 3 hours.
Yeah.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, you can't go deep for
No,
sure.
because you're not even transforming yourself. How are you going to go deep with your clients? Like, it's just a
Yeah.
piece of paper. And I would say that I use tapping every day, which was really difficult for me at first. I wasn't great on it. I was like, Then I started to realize that at a vibrational level and the changes, and I guess I was afraid to feel those emotions for a while.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense for sure.
And it's kind of fun to see, a bunch of guys tapping. Um, I love parts integration. I think I use that more than anything else in the modalities. But I really do, I do hypnosis, not as often as everything else that we were taught. EFT was a big one for me. I also, I do breath work, so that was fun. And I teach some trauma response, the representational system. So, the disc profiling that everyone does in sales, and they're like, dominant, and you have to learn to speak their language, and yes, mirroring, matching, building rapport, blah blah blah. However, the representational, knowing how people think in their subconscious mind and how we react, that really is very helpful for salespeople to
Yeah,
understand the core element. And that's why they always say, bringing all of the representational systems. And when I speak that, again, I don't want to say jargon, but is someone visual, or are they kinesthetic? Are they, auditory, digital? Understanding that will help you present to them differently.
exactly. Yeah,
And
and
then the
bringing that in.
consultation. That was like, there's so many pieces, and how it's evolved is through working with more and more people and understanding, how do you learn? Like, when I leave here today, how will this have been successful?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, what would you say is the message you want to leave with anyone who's listening or watching today?
Wow, so many, so many.
You can go off.
Well, I think I believe that there's a lot of people doing what you're doing out there. Me personally, if someone is in your world, and there's many of them, and they haven't taken the leap of faith to do so, because your certification, and I have 12 certifications now, but this one, well, you add on because you're learning. And everything that I did was not so I could write it down on paper. Every certification that I went through, we transformational, I did neuroscience, it was all to make me better.
Yeah,
But I wanted to fix me first, so that I could outwardly, number one, I wanted to be able to speak from experience. And number two, I needed to do the work. Quite frankly, I needed to do the work myself. And as real and vulnerable as that is, that's where people have to be. So take that leap of faith and know that it's going to come back to you tenfold, even if it's the last dollar in your pocket, or the last credit card, or the worst time of your life, like we discussed. Your team, and what I love about your team is they're all still there, from when I was out there, which says everything about you as a leader. So taking your certification, 100%, I would push anyone to you. I've recommended you so many times. And do the work.
yeah,
Like, do the work, because it's scary, it's mirrored, it's hard, it's internal, it's a shift, it's things that you never knew were holding you back. And then don't be afraid to talk about your journey. The vulnerability is what people resonate with, right? We weren't born perfect. Well, we were born perfect apparently, but we faulted from there. um, don't be afraid to rewire, and really stop skipping and scrolling and going from coach to coach to coach. Stick with one thing, and don't believe all the hype out there, because people can talk about all the money they made, but you have to resonate with the person that's in front of you and not restrict yourself. But especially if you have ADHD traits, right? Lack of focus. We're going from, oh, I follow this guy and I listen to this podcast. How are you staying strong in what your purpose is
Yeah.
when you're all over the board? And with, with openness, you kind of embody everything. You really don't have to go out. And the other things can be, I call it shelf help.
Yeah.
Yep. Right? How
Yeah.
many
It's like in
books,
your book. Yeah, for sure.
how many people save podcasts? And really, there's a lot of people out there just monetizing their social media. They're not really looking to transform or to impact. It's really about, okay, well, if I get the likes, then I'm going to be able to monetize. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with monetization, because it's just another revenue stream. However, you know, really write down the list of what you would want out of a coach. What do you want out of your partner, out of your life, even beyond the vision board, and understand it from in here, like feel it. You always used to say that, you're like, what do you see and feel and hear? That was like one of the first things, and I did that with so many of my early clients. And getting them to articulate their vision was difficult for most people. And I
Yes.
think working with you, I still read my first dream vision.
That's good. Yeah, you gotta go over it every day and like get those neurons rewired in there.
Yeah, and a lot of it has come to fruition through. And some of it I had to redirect. I think it's a work in progress constantly.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited for, where I'm going, where you're going, and just being able to be here today with you to get back to your audience, and also to speak about my experience with Yes Supply. It was just something that I won't ever forget. I'll never forget you. And to be someone who's always in my corner, and just added, you weren't just another coach. You were someone whom you used to check on me. You used to say, are you okay? Or, you're going through this right now. And I felt like that was what I cared for most about you, was that you were involved in our evolution. You were involved in our process. And most people can't say that. As they grow, they forget about who got them there.
Right. Oh my gosh, Sandy. Well, it was so great to chat with you. For anyone
Absolutely.
who's watching this, they want to see your show that's coming out next week. They want to learn more about your products. Where can people find you or learn more about what you're up to?
I would say follow me on Sandy Papavero, which is where we are right now. I'm building my Burn the Blueprint as, a takeoff from my personal Instagram, but they'll both be active. I'm on LinkedIn. All my podcasts are on LinkedIn. All my articles are on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn as well as Instagram. And I still incorporate some Facebook. But I will be dropping the links when we start. And I would love to also put it out there. And would you be so kind as to come on to my
Oh,
show? So
sure. Yeah. I'd
that would
love
be
to.
super
That'd be
fun.
great. Yeah.
Because it's really going to be about people understanding that there is an organizational, blueprint that we burn and then we recreate. And as we get to that point, that it's what's possible. And I think people just need a path. They just need a path, and they understand where we're going to get that. And so you showing up on there would be fantastic. And anyone else that's in that space, I don't care what your industry, I'd love for you to reach out to me. Tell me you'd want to be a guest, because we're setting that all up right now. So Larry Law says, do the work. I love it. Say Sandy by
Oh,
my side. It's been a huge support. I love you, buddy.
aw,
I love
that's
you.
so nice. I love this.
I
Well,
love
thank
it.
you so much. Yeah, this is one of your clients shouting you out. I've transformed my mind and body by having Sandy by my side. It's been a huge support. Such a testament to you being such an amazing coach.
Well, thank you again. There's a bunch of people that I always publicly thank, and you will always be remembered and never forgotten. And anyone who's looking to take a certification that's on not only on another level, but really personalized to the person, and um, just with heart. You know, if you're looking for someone who's just going to teach you mechanics, take an online course. But somebody who really wants to learn from someone who has empathy, true empathy, and care for their clients, then go to Yes Apply.
Thank you, Sandy. Oh, I love you so
Absolutely.
much. I can't wait to be on your podcast. So
Yay!
we'll share that too.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for your time and your inspiration. You're such an inspiration, and I will talk to you soon.